Some people leave without slamming the door. Some hearts break without a sound. And sometimes, the person who hurt you the most was once the one you trusted the deepest. This story isn't just about love. It's about betrayal, about silence where there should have been answers, and about the kind of goodbye that doesn't come with closure. Because sometimes, we don't just lose people. We lose the versions of ourselves that believed in them. We lose routines that felt like safety, laughter that sounded like forever, and touches that promised tomorrow. Some heartbreaks aren't sharp. They're slow. Like erosion, you barely notice until everything has changed shape. Some wounds don't bleed, they echo. Like a voice you once knew calling from another room. Like a scent in a sweater you haven't worn in years. This story will sit with you, gently, and maybe echo in places you thought you'd already healed. Welcome to Heart Rest. Tonight, I invite you to let everything soften. Your shoulders, your jaw, your breath. Let this story hold you, the way no one held you when it all fell apart. There is no pressure here, no expectation to move on or let go. Only a quiet place to remember, to feel, and to rest. As you listen, let the images form gently in your mind. Let the candlelight flicker. Let the sea wind blow. Let yourself be carried, one memory at a time. This story is a nightlight for your thoughts, a lullaby for the moments you can't explain. It's a soft echo of something you've lived, or something your heart has always feared. You are not broken for remembering. You are not weak for feeling. You are simply human. And tonight, you are not alone. In a seaside town where the fog rolled in like a secret, there lived a woman named Clara. She was known by everyone but truly seen by no one. She had a way of folding her pain like linen sheets, crisp, perfect, and hidden. She ran a flower shop where every bouquet was a message. She didn't know how to speak aloud. People came to her for roses, for lilies, for orchids that whispered longing, and she arranged them with a grace that made people feel loved. But no one ever asked her who loved her. No one ever asked what she needed. Years ago, a storm flooded the town. The roads disappeared beneath water, and so did the noise. And in that silence, she met Jonah. He arrived soaked, tired, and gentle, and without a word, he helped her move the flowers to safety, each stem handled like a fragile truth. They didn't fall in love, they drifted into it, like the tide covering your feet before you realize how far you've walked. He left her notes, simple, beautiful things. Today's a good day to need nothing but tea. You smiled in your sleep. She kept them all. Not because she needed proof, but because she didn't want to forget how it felt to be noticed like that. She knew the way his hands trembled. When he read a sad poem, she knew the smell of his skin after a morning jog. She knew how he fell asleep during thunderstorms and flinched when there was silence. And she loved him for all of it. Even the parts she didn't understand. Especially those parts. Enter Amara, Jonah's best friend. She laughed too loudly at his jokes. She knew too much about his past. And Clara wanted to trust her. She really did. But some people don't take love, they take space. And Amara was always there, filling it, until Clara began to wonder if she was the guest in her own story. They were on the beach, the three of them, drinks in hand, bonfire burning low. Amara told a story about a trip she and Jonah took before Clara came around. A night in a cabin, a storm that knocked out the power, and a kiss that meant nothing. Jonah laughed too long. Amara smiled too wide. And Clara felt like an echo in her own life. She looked at Jonah, hoping he'd say something. Anything. He just squeezed her hand. But it felt like a habit, not a promise. Later that night, Clara went home alone. Jonah stayed to help Amara clean up. And that's when the doubts grew roots. Not from what was said, but from what wasn't. The flower shop still opened at 9. Clara still brewed the same tea. But the morning felt colder, even when the sun was shining. Jonah's note stopped. The coffee turned bitter. His eyes were elsewhere. On his phone. On the clock. Never on her. She asked him, "Is there something I should know?" He kissed her forehead. Nothing important, but she wasn't asking for facts. She was asking for truth. And truth, when withheld, turns love into confusion. She found the photo in a book she'd never seen him read. A picture of Jonah and Amara smiling like no one else existed. The date wasn't old, it was recent. The same day he'd said he had to work late. She didn't cry, she just folded the photo, pressed it flat, and placed it beside his cup the next morning. No confrontation, just proof. And when he saw it, he didn't speak, just stared at it, then stared at her. And the silence said everything. 2 days later, he packed a bag. No goodbye, just a look she couldn't read, and a door that finally understood how to close. Amara stayed in town. She never reached out. But Clara saw her, at the market, buying lilies. She didn't know how to arrange. They never spoke again. But every bouquet Clara made after that felt like a letter she couldn't send. And when customers asked for something soft, something sorrowful, she always reached for the lilies. Because grief, she learned, smelled a lot like beauty that didn't last. Are you still with me? If so, maybe this isn't just Clara's story. Maybe you've loved someone who left without packing their memories. Maybe you've stood next to someone who laughed louder with someone else. Maybe you've learned that silence is louder than betrayal. So, tell me, what's the lie you told yourself to stay a little longer than you should have? Was it they'll come around? Was it this is just a phase? Was it they love me? They just don't know how to show it? Would you share it in the comments? Someone out there needs to know they're not the only one. Because sometimes healing starts with being honest about the untruths we lived in. On their last anniversary, Jonah gave her a book. Inside, one line was underlined. Loyalty is only beautiful when it's not convenient. She stared at it for hours, wondering if he meant it or if he just liked how it sounded. She never asked. Some questions don't want answers. Instead, she pressed a flower between those pages, a white camellias, symbol of longing. She hasn't opened the book since. The flower shop still stands. The lilies still bloom. But Clara arranges them slower now, as if she's listening to each one. Because she learned that even beauty can wilt. If no one waters it, she speaks less. But her hands say everything. Every bouquet is a story, and every stem a truth she didn't get to say out loud. The empty chair behind the counter still holds his jacket. Not because she forgot it, but because it's proof that he was real, even if he couldn't stay. Amara once asked Clara, "Do you think people can love two people at once?" Clara smiled. Only when one of them doesn't know. It was a simple reply, but it echoed. And Amara never asked again. That night, Clara wrote a letter. She never sent it, but in it, she said, "I forgive you. Not for you. For me." It's still in her drawer. Still sealed. Still breathing. Are you holding on to something that once held you? A scent, a street, a cup, a word. Do you find yourself rewriting the past to make it less painful? Tonight, you don't have to rewrite anything. You can feel it exactly as it was, because memory isn't betrayal. It's just the heart trying to finish its story. Tell me, what's the one object, the one place, that still makes them feel close? Let's fill the comments with echoes of real love, of real loss, of real survival. Their final night, no fights, No raised voices, just stillness. The kind that feels like waiting for a goodbye you know won't come. Clara turned to Jonah in bed. "Come back to me." He didn't move, didn't breathe deeply, didn't even flinch. That was her answer, and she never asked again. She watched the rain on the window. She watched his chest rise and fall, and she counted the seconds between heartbeats. By morning, he was already gone, even before his feet left the floor. Clara doesn't hate Jonah, doesn't hate Amara. She simply misses the version of herself that still believed love was enough. She's not bitter, she's just tired, and maybe a little wiser. And every morning, before opening the flower shop, she stands at the window, holding the photo he never asked about, just for a moment. Just to remind herself that she survived it. Thank you for listening, for trusting me with a little part of your night. If you're still carrying a goodbye that never felt complete, let it rest here. You don't have to let go. Just rest it beside you, like a soft blanket of memory. And maybe, just maybe, in the quiet of this story, you'll remember that your heart didn't break because you were weak. It broke because you were brave enough to love. Sleep soft, dream gently. And if you wake in the night, let this story stay with you, like the last letter you never sent. Good night, you're not alone. Not anymore.